Well, I've just had breakfast, and of course, after breakfast comes, you guessed it, cleanup. All these dirty dishes have to be dealt with. And this is not like your home where you have running water, soap, dishwashers, sponging rags, endless water, so forth. When you're camping out like this, the trick is to really conserve resources, be it water or toweling or rags or so forth. Starting over. Take two. Now that I've had my coffee and my breakfast, the fun part begins. Cleaning up. Our favorite thing. I don't really mind it. It's sort of a mindfulness exercise to be washing dishes and cleaning up. But when you're camping out of a rig like this, it's quite different than at your home. And you do some things different. To start with, and this is not my technique I developed, many people use this, most notably Bob Wells, Creative RV Living, is I use a combination of water in a spray bottle and vinegar. And that's how I clean and sanitize everything I eat on. Why no soap? Because soap takes an enormous amount of water to rinse clean. I do travel with some soap. Sorry for being off camera, mosquitoes. I do carry soap. For the occasion, I might have something really hard and baked on that I can't get off through this method. But for most part, these two do the job. And of course, sadly, I use a lot of paper towels, but that's the concession. It's not really effective or efficient in a setup like this to take a tea towel to dry things and then being able to control it not mildewing and so forth and drying out properly. So I use this. So the other important ingredient is, of course, trash bag. So that's how we'll start. We throw away what we can out of the meal before we start cleaning the dishes. And that includes any refuse that I normally at home would compost. I guess you can compost on the road, but it's kind of frowned upon. Then the second thing to do is I begin a process of wiping everything out with a towel. This serves the purpose of getting rid of most of the visual or most of the food that you can see on everything and makes cleaning the rest take less resources such as water and vinegar rinse cycles. So after I've wiped everything real good to get any food particles off, if I took my glasses off, everything would look really clean at this point, but of course we know it's not. Now, stuff with eggs is a little harder, and I do extra care in cleaning up stuff that had raw egg on it, as I would if I had something with raw meat. And so a little extra attention, extra paper towels go into the cleaning of anything that was touched by the raw egg. And as I'll show you, extra vinegar time. It helps on your cooking pans also to use something that is either coated or comes off cleanly. A lot of people like to camp with cast iron, and it's wonderful to cook with. And once you have it seasoned properly, it's really easy to clean up, but it's heavy. And besides the space limitation, there's always a concern for going as light as you can with all your gear. Okay, so everything's wiped out. Now I will go through and simply wet everything down. And let that sit a bit on the material, and that's going to loosen anything that I happen to have not been able to scrape off. I then quickly take another paper towel, wipe everything to get off any remaining food residue. Trying to minimize paper towels, but it's very difficult to do. They don't last too long. This is an important step because when you go to the sanitizing step, you want to make sure there's no food particles left on what you're trying to sanitize. Otherwise, you might err in leaving something sitting there that then gets old. And we know how much fun that is to get little food poisoning from molded food. All right. So now that that step's over, I then proceed to the vinegar, and I just spray, and this is pure, just white vinegar. Now here's my egg cups. So I'm going to spray them a little more slowly, get a little more vinegar in there. And there's the egg whisk. Make sure I get all of that. Of course, my pour over coffee piece doesn't really get dirty in that sense, so I don't worry about cleaning it too thoroughly. So now that the vinegar is set on there, and I'll give a little extra time on the stuff that had eggs, I wipe it clean. And if you're wondering, these are bamboo utensils I use. And so they clean. I just carry the one utensil, as you'll see in the next video on kitchen parts. Some people like to travel with paper plates, plastic spoons, etc., but that's just such a waste. So while I do my job in wasting paper towels, I don't like to be wasteful when it comes to things that eat on. It just generates too much trash. So this is the last sanitizing step. And then the final step is simply water. We're doing another rinse, and that's going to kind of help pull off the vinegar. It wouldn't hurt to have the vinegar taste and everything, but it's not something I particularly like. So I like to spritz it all once again, and that will keep the vinegar off. So all I have to do now is wipe everything dry and put it away for the next meal. So that's how I easily and simply sanitize and clean up after cooking. It helps, at least for me, that I'm largely a vegetarian, so I don't deal with a lot of meat. Every once in a while I'll have salmon, every once in a while I'll have chicken, but for the most part it's vegetables and eggs. So that helps clean up a little easier. And the last piece. So there you have it. Water, vinegar, paper towels. Simple and easy.